Hello, and welcome to Dreamy Tales, a sanctuary where everyone can experience calm and a touch of magic before gently drifting into sleep. Tonight, we invite you on another enchanting journey, a story that helps soothe the mind and nurture a sense of peace. Before we begin, let's take a moment to prepare our bodies and minds for a comforting, restorative rest. Make yourself cozy, and with each slow inhale and long exhale, let the cares of the day gradually slip away. It's not always easy to step back from the day's demands, especially as night falls. Yet, remember, the less we worry about how quickly we'll fall asleep, the simpler it is for our minds to release any remaining tension. Allow the gentle flow of your breathing to wash away lingering concerns, and let the story ahead guide you into a state of deep relaxation. Now, settle in, and let the dreamy atmosphere softly wrap around you. Enjoy this story, and may you drift into a peaceful, restful slumber here on Dreamy Tales.
We find ourselves within a wood, undeniably lovely, yet touched by an uncanny resonance, an enchantment woven deep into its fabric. Let us venture there, into the verdant depths, and acquaint ourselves with the singular beings who claim this secret domain as sanctuary. Deep within this thaumaturgic forest, where lush undergrowth lies spangled with viridian ferns and amethyst asters, creatures of myth spend their days. Their haven resides in a clandestine garden, nestled amongst fragrant blossoms and venerable trees, veiled by a colossal curtain of succulent ivy, and the entrance remains obscured. Here, towering blades of grass embrace the moss-clad earth, ascending ever higher until they form a verdant ceiling all their own, rendering the arched portal to the hidden Eden nearly undiscoverable, a circumstance precisely to the inhabitants' liking. Yet, despite meticulous efforts toward concealment, fortune seekers and wanderers have, on occasion, breached the garden gates. Drawn by whispers of its legend, they somehow circumvented the vigilance of the mythical sentry tasked with its protection. Behold Enigmalion, guardian of the secret garden, the cranium of a feline, the vast pinions of a falcon, fused to the torso and caudal appendage of a lion. Its eyes, great orbs possessing irises of burnished gold, hold almond-shaped pupils, black as oblivion. Though formidable teeth and claws are meant to deter intruders, this particular guardian harbors a gentle spirit, incapable of harming even the smallest insect. Its placid mien and kind gaze belie a latent power, the ability, should it choose, to weave spells compelling humans to forget their very names. Enigmalion stands among the earliest entries in the forest's bestiary. This leather-bound tome, graced with gilded cursive upon its cover, rests secure beneath a glass cloche upon a stone plinth within the rose garden. It meticulously catalogues the diverse denizens, their arrival times, innate abilities, and current vocations. Enigmalion's designated role, sentinel of the gate. Behind the cascading ivy drapery, the arched gateway itself is festooned with blossoms, pink and white, shaped like miniature hearts. Wrought iron, skillfully welded into ornate configurations, forms the gate, its surface covered in intricate tracery depicting a sylvan fantasy. Rabbits, foxes, and deer cavorting amidst twining vines and flowers. While on duty, Enigmalion assumes its preferred posture, prone, forelegs extended, hind limbs tucked neatly at its sides. When ennui descends, a frequent occurrence, the creature might meticulously groom a paw, indulge in a languid stretch, or drift into slumber, only stirring when roused by one of the garden's mosskin. Now, the mosskin of the secret garden, though diminutive in stature, shoulder immense responsibilities. A day in their lives is far from trivial. These tiny horticulturalists, distinguished by weathered complexions, snowy beards, and conical caps, are the true custodians of this hidden realm. They inhabit a small hamlet just beyond the gate, a place of oval flower beds and soaring evergreens. Dwelling within hollows at the base of ancient trees, they dedicate their leisure hours to knitting substantial sweaters and socks from yarn spun meticulously from bamboo grass. The mosskin labor tirelessly, ensuring their cherished garden flourishes. This stewardship includes overseeing certain mythical residents who feign industriousness while actually indulging in idleness. The nectar sprites, especially, exhibit a pronounced inclination towards languor over labor. These elfin beings reside in an adjacent meadow where larkspurs gleam like sapphire stars scattered upon the green. Though bearing a resemblance to fairies, nectar sprites possess distinctly pointed ears and four elongated dragonfly-like wings. Designated as the garden's assessors, they drift above the meadow, miniature clipboards seemingly clutched in hand. Their official task involves reporting to the mosskin on the quality of the nectar so favored by the garden's bees. Frequently, however, these duties are forsaken in favor of foraging for plump blackberries, ripening in thickets near the cherry blossoms. The cherry blossom field unfolds as a panorama of pink, a wonderland where countless petals drift from mature trees, blanketing the forest floor in a soft, rosy tide. This captivating locale is the domain of Sylvana. In her innate aspect, this cunning entity resembles a fox, possessing long, slender limbs, a sharply pointed muzzle, and a coat of purest white that glimmers in the sunlight. Yet she often assumes other guises through shapeshifting. Occasionally, much to the genuine annoyance of the true mosskin, she masquerades as one of them. Sylvana ranks among the forest's most ancient inhabitants. Her kind accrues bushy tails throughout their existence, potentially up to 9. Currently, she boasts 7, each a distinct hue of the rainbow, signifying a vast lifespan, a subject she politely avoids discussing. Her very soul resides within a spherical gemstone, radiating a warm, citrine luminescence. This is her fount of life and magic. It remains hers alone, typically nestled within her most luxuriant tail, guarded with unwavering care. When transformed into other creatures, she wears it upon a white leather collar, studded with tiny golden stars. A favorite form is that of a panda, whose dark fur contrasts pleasingly with the collar. In her natural vulpine state, she delights in whiling away hours beneath the cherry trees, grooming meticulously as pink petals descend like silent snowflakes. Two centaurs also grace the garden with their presence. They cherish strolls through the cherry blossoms during the early morn, when dew kisses nearly every leaf and petal. Brother and sister, these half-human, half-equine beings, present a study in contrasts. Corvus, the brother, stands a commanding 7 feet tall, possessing the glossy mane of a black stallion, skin of olive hue, and eyes like hazelnuts. Linnea, his sister, slightly shorter at 6 feet, boasts a fair complexion with cheeks perpetually flushed rosy, and eyes the color of aquamarine. Her mane, a cascade of platinum blonde, is worn in a long, thick braid reaching her knees. Corvus and Linnea fulfill a vital function. They are charged with discreetly escorting unexpected visitors back towards the arched gate, where Enigmalion can then erase their memories of the secret garden. Afterward, they observe silently as the oblivious guests depart through the swaying ivy curtain. Though the rarity of such intrusions means their duty is seldom performed, Corvus and Linnea approach it with utmost seriousness, partly owing to their deep friendship with the Moskin. According to the Moskin, intruders, particularly humans, present a significant challenge. Humans, they lament, precipitate all manner of minor calamities. They pluck golden blossoms with no thought for the gentle ogres who painstakingly cultivate them. They carelessly trample beds of scarlet poppies and pink tulips, diligently tended by Asterius, the garden's minotaur. Asterius, a tall figure with the head of a bull and a long brown tail, wields a silver axe, not for aggression, but for his horticultural work. He sighs profoundly when years of effort are crushed underfoot. The Moskin find it perplexing that some of their mythical companions share ancestry with humans, yet those creatures possess a greater understanding. They recognize that most humans are driven by curiosity, not malice. Still, some Moskin ponder whether the docile Enigmalion remains suitable for gate duty. Perhaps Asterius himself, they muse, might prove a more effective deterrent against outsiders. To deliberate this matter, the Moskin convened a council of elders, occasionally gathering in a circular clearing amidst a field of daisies. On this particular day, the question of Enigmalion and its role is revisited. One Moskin, her pointed hat pulled so low it obscures her eyes, argues that the guardian is no longer fit for purpose. Her attire, a white dress, yellow belt, and green hat, perfectly mirrors the colors of the daisy field, prompting some to wonder if this sartorial choice is entirely coincidental. She contends that humans have discerned the weakness of sphinxes, their irresistible compulsion to pose riddles. Thus, intruders strike bargains, passage granted in exchange for solving a puzzle. However, the gnome presiding over the council offers a different perspective. Perhaps, he suggests, the solution lies not in replacing Enigmalion, but in arming it with more challenging enigmas, true conundrums that would baffle even the most astute human minds. But when the Moskin in the white dress requests an example, the head gnome's brow furrows. Crafting rhymes sufficiently perplexing to thwart clever humans proves beyond his ken. "Allow me an attempt," volunteers a gnome, clad in a blue tunic and black hat, stroking his extensive beard. Black of eye am I, and bright of hair, he recites. My feet hold fast within the ground. I adore the sun upon my face and follow it around. What am I? The assembled mosskin shake their heads dismissively. A sunflower, they chorus. The riddle is transparently simple. After careful reflection, the mosskin concede that their knowledge is too deeply rooted in horticulture. Humans will inevitably decipher their riddles. Best to leave Enigmalion where it is, at the gate, concludes the head gnome. All factors considered, Enigmalion remains the most adept at managing the curious humans drawn into the magic forest. Furthermore, it alone possesses the unique ability to magically erase memories of their visit, should the need arise. With the matter settled, the mosskin return to their hollows beneath the trees, or resume tending their garden plots. When not reposing beneath the cherry blossoms, Sylvana fulfills her duty as the garden messenger, relaying the mosskin's directives to other mythical inhabitants. Her initial destination, the topiary garden, where a chimera dedicates his days to sculpting dense green bushes into fantastical forms. The chimera is arguably the most accomplished gardener of them all, a surprising distinction given his composition. He possesses 3 distinct heads, one of a goat, another of a lion, and the third belonging to a serpent, each harboring its own opinions. Yet, the one pursuit they unanimously enjoy is gardening. When it is time to exercise his considerable green thumb, his 3 heads function as a cohesive unit, devoid of disagreement. And since 3 heads demonstrably surpass 1, he conjures magnificent creations born from a confluence of creative impulses. He cultivates tall boxwoods in varying shades of green, shaping them into wondrous topiaries using pruners, shears, and loppers, resembling enormous scissors. His skill allows him to sculpt nearly anything the imagination can conceive. From solitary bushes, he carves pensive gargoyles, hunched with fists on chins, lost in profound thought. From broad hedges, he fashions cheerful trolls, their long, bushy hair standing on end. His creations often pay homage to fellow denizens of the secret garden. One such tribute honors the great serpent Eternus. Eternus's task involves preparing land for new cultivation, achieved by plowing acres of soil with its formidable teeth. The chimera sculpts his serpentine friend coiled into a circle, mouth grasping its own tail. Adjacent stands a representation of Embersong, the phoenix, a majestic avian with plumage of scarlet and gold, and a cerulean crest flowing from its head like a bridal train. The chimera crafts the Embersong topiary from a honeysuckle bush bearing red blooms like firecrackers and small golden flowers resembling sleigh bells. This choice, portraying the fiery bird with red and yellow blossoms, is fitting, considering Embersong's propensity to combust spontaneously. Equally sensible is placing the phoenix sculpture beside the serpent, acknowledging the ancient rivalry between these 2 mythical beings. On the subject of immortality, Eternus maintains there is room within the garden for only one creature, symbolizing the eternal cycle of rebirth, an endless loop of beginnings renewing themselves. Embersong concurs, having risen from its own ashes numerous times. However, Embersong refuses to yield the title of preeminent immortal creature to the serpent, asserting, in fact, seniority based on mythological precedents. The truth, however, remains elusive. No one truly knows which entity came first. Their origin narratives have dissolved into the mists of time. Tales were consumed by fire, according to Embersong. It once possessed an ancient scroll, crafted from papyrus, which definitively settled the question of their respective ages. Papyrus, with its tea-stained appearance, derived from the stem of reeds along the Nile, served historically for paper making, among other uses. As Embersong recounted, the papyrus scroll detailed precisely how, and crucially when, it first came into existence, when the Council of Elder Moskin convened to address the best immortal creature dispute. They requested Embersong produce this document. Crestfallen, the bird confessed to the council that it had incinerated the scroll long ago during a heated disagreement with a skyclaw. The skyclaw, once amicable towards Embersong, had audaciously declared itself the greatest mythical bird of all time, exhausting the phoenix's final reserve of patience. Unable to contain the inferno rising within, Embersong erupted into flames, accidentally immolating the precious scroll clutched in its talons. How, Embersong argued before the council, could a skyclaw possibly deem itself superior to a phoenix? After all, skyclaws are composite creatures, part eagle, part lion, not purely avian. Admittedly, they possess keen intelligence, a trait worn plainly on their aquiline faces. They are undeniably strong, boasting the muscular physique of a lion and razor-sharp talons. But this does not constitute avian greatness, Embersong declared. A phoenix achieves immortality. What could possibly surpass that? What of a serpent that also lives forever? Interjected the head gnome during the council meeting, gesturing towards Eternus, which had been silently encircling the gathered group, and so, with proof of its origins, lost to a self-inflicted conflagration, Embersong consented to share the title of Best Immortal Creature with the serpent, but only on the condition that the Council of Moskin formally recognized the mighty phoenix as unequivocally superior to the skyclaw. Agreed, declared the Council of Moskin, and the case was closed. As night descends, most creatures wind down after a day of diligent labor within the secret garden. This transition unfolds now as the sun dips below the forest's edge. Yet, for two inhabitants, the late shift is just commencing. Reinhardt, the frost giant, emerges from his shadowed cave as the celestial vault deepens to black, punctuated by myriad stars. This colossal being's form is sculpted from dark blue ice, multifaceted like a masterfully cut diamond. He bears two horns of pale blue ice, eyes that glow with an inner cold light, and a beard composed of glittering white icicles. He carries a sledgehammer, wrought of gold and silver, often employed to clear land for new plantings. Rimehart's cavern lies at the garden's core, within a modest mountain whose solitary peak pierces the forest canopy just slightly. It provides the perfect vantage point for fulfilling his duties as senior irrigation specialist, a title he holds with considerable pride. Standing atop the summit, the frost giant inhales deeply. Upon exhaling, a cool misty vapor flows across the land. He dispatches thousands of minuscule ice particles in every direction, coating the topiary garden, the cherry blossom field, and flower beds bristling with lupines, resembling blue corn ears. Rimehart's breath also blankets the intricate garden maze, fashioned from winding hedges that Corvus and Linnea can navigate blindfolded, a favorite pastime of theirs. His icy exhalation supplements the morning dew, maintaining soil moisture overnight until the sun returns to warm the garden's flora. Occasionally, however, his chill proves excessive. When this occurs, numerous flower and vegetable beds face the peril of freezing solid. This is where the frost giant's loyal quadrupedal companion intervenes. Embermaw of the secret garden is a cheerful, three-headed, fire-breathing canine with kind blue eyes, a short gray coat, and a spiky dragon's tail. In ages past, Embermaw guarded the gates of the underworld. Now, he faithfully executes his role as the garden's official warmer. Each night, he pads silently amongst the plants, sniffing out sections susceptible to freezing. Upon locating such an area, he lies down, curls into a ball, and radiates such profound warmth that all plants, flowers, and groves within a mile radius spring back to life, revived from their icy torpor. On nights when widespread warming isn't required, Embermaw pays a visit to Enigmalion at the garden gate, treading softly on all fours to avoid disturbing the slumbering mosskin. Embermaw and Enigmalion forged a swift friendship, bonded by their mutual interest in guardianship. After all, the three-headed hound possesses considerable expertise in security, having patrolled the underworld's threshold for millennia. The two friends converse quietly beneath the arched gate. In the nocturnal hours, the crimson flowers adorning the structure appear muted gray under the moonlight. Enigmalion reclines in its customary pose, forelegs outstretched, hind legs tucked. Then it voices a new riddle, currently coalescing in its mind. I sound like a place where roses and daisies might go to sleep, it murmurs. It is not humans who count sheep here, but dandelions, daffodils, and mythical creatures like you and me. What am I? Embermaw offers a three-headed grin. A flower bed, he replies, as the two companions talk late into the night. The secret garden beyond the gate rests soundly beneath the starlit canopy. Within it, contented little mosskin are tucked securely in their beds. They dream of white lilies, of murmuring brooks, and of amicable mythical creatures, reposing peacefully under the gentle luminescence of a beautiful moon. Sunlight, tentative yet bright, dappled the lane Elara trod, each slow step echoing in the profound quiet of the Cumbrian morning. Spring breathed a crystalline edge into the April air here in the Lake District. Along the roadside, sycamore branches bore the emerald nubs of promised leaves, though a drift of last year's brittle memories. Fallen foliage in russet, gold, and umber still lay banked against the grassy verge. A quick glance confirmed her solitude. A playful scuff of her walking boot sent the leaves airborne, a fleeting confetti against the sharp blue canvas of the sky. They settled with a whisper, and as she stepped through them, their dry husks yielded a satisfying, brittle percussion beneath her soles. A secret curve touched her lips. A weathered sign whispered the name, Loweswater, her breath preceding her as a fleeting white plume. She burrowed deeper into the quilted warmth of her coat, turning a corner to the right. She reached out, her fingers tracing the cool, gritty tapestry of a dry stone boundary. Chunks of pale granite, the very bones of the earth, were freckled with silver lichen and patches of deep green, earth-fragrant moss, offering a faint rasp against her skin. Rounding the bend, the vista unfurled. Before her stretched broad, undulating pastures, dotted with the slow amble of sheep navigating the long, dew-kissed grass. Beyond them rose 3 hills, silent sentinels, guarding the entrance to a deep cleft valley. As Alara walked and the sun climbed, light crept across their flanks, revealing stone scars and tenacious shrubs. Even at this distance, the pewter sheen of Crummock water lay silent, utterly still. Her destination, however, lay elsewhere today, a day marked for something extraordinary. Vaulting a rustic wooden stile, she saw it. There, in a small meadow, embraced by alder and ash, it waited, tethered yet eager. A vessel of woven wicker and rainbow silk, a hot air balloon poised for flight. No one else was near. Its vast canopy swelled and sighed in the gentle air. Crossing the field towards it, she felt the air begin to thrum, a palpable heat radiating from the burners, growing stronger with each step. Reaching the basket, she noticed a rust-furred scout, a squirrel edged close, twitching with curiosity. Just as her hand touched the wickerwork, the burners gave 2 sudden, cheerful whooshes. The balloon seemed impatient for departure. The squirrel, deciding aerial voyages were not for its kind, became a flicker of fur, vanishing into the hedgerow. Alara hoisted herself aboard with as much grace as she could muster. The basket's interior was austere, purposeful. A folded blanket, a cushion, and nestled in a corner, a small chest of dark, gleaming wood, perhaps walnut, perhaps rosewood. It possessed a simple elegance, clearly aged, its surface smoothed by countless hands, the lip of its lid worn to a much paler brown. As her fingers explored its knotted grain, she felt the polish of years. The lid opened with a gentle groan of hinges. Within lay a folded parchment, releasing a faint scent of thyme and timber. It unfurled as she lifted it, an intricate cartography of the Lake District. A tiny crimson pulse marked her precise location, nestled between the waters of Loweswater and Crummock water. As she went to refold the map, a second slip of paper fluttered free, dancing on the air currents towards the wicker floor. She intercepted it deftly between 2 fingers. Unfolded, it revealed 5 words in elegant script, unsigned, I know where to go. With a resonant blast from the burners, the basket gave a subtle lurch, kissing the earth goodbye. This craft possessed its own volition, it seemed. Alara tucked the map into her coat pocket. Another surge of heat lifted them, smoothly, almost imperceptibly. Higher they climbed, and higher still. The crowns of the tallest ash trees sank below. Sheep in the fields dwindled to miniature fleece blobs scattered across the green. Rising further, the balloon climbed free of the valley's cool embrace. The morning sun felt warm, vital, seeming to infuse her very being with light and contentment. Suspended thus, she felt a buoyant lightness, a decoupling from the earthbound world. The silence was profound, broken only by the occasional sigh of the burners. The air smelled clean, sharp, invigorating. As they ascended, the lakeland tapestry unfurled around her, peak after distant peak revealing itself. Now level with the hilltops, most of the lake district sprawled beneath her gaze. She retrieved the map once more. Far to the south, she could just discern the skeletal finger of Blackpool Tower, an echo of Eiffel built in 1894. Shielding her eyes against the ascending sun, she glimpsed the distant, shimmering ribbon where the Cumbrian coastline met the Irish Sea. A faint sailing tang seemed to ride the cool morning breeze. Nearby, birds wheeled and glided, avian acrobats carving arcs in the blue. The hills and fells around her were burnished gold and shadowed green in the early light, sculpted by water, wind, and millennia. Their intricate gullies, crags, streams, and dells bore witness to deep time. Ice ages, over the last 2 million years, had draped this region in glaciers, icy sculptors carving the land into the shapes surrounding her now, gouging deep U-shaped valleys, leaving behind the profound lakes at their hearts, and scattering smaller hillside tarns like sapphire chips upon the heights. Leaning against the basket's rim, Alara drew a deep breath. A wave of gratitude, profound and quiet, washed over her for the sheer spectacle. She closed her eyes, letting the sun warm her face, her neck. A profound calm flowed through her, starting at her crown, moving to her shoulders, down her arms to her fingertips, rolling through her torso to her hips, down each leg to the very tips of her toes. Opening her eyes, she looked over the basket's edge and realized they were drifting over a twin-peaked fell. She knew this one, Hen Combe. That meant they were tracking south. Sure enough, looking down the valley, she could see the distant sunlit mirror of Buttermere's surface. Just to verify, she pulled out the map again. The crimson dot had indeed migrated down the valley, as though tracing their airborne path. She refolded the map, waited a few heartbeats, then looked again. The dot was definitely a fraction closer to Buttermere. Smiling, she tucked the enchanted chart away for later. Gliding along the valley, leaving Ennerdale water behind, she watched the tiny sheep grazing far below. Suddenly, a flash of movement. 2 immense raptors sliced the air beneath the basket. She followed their flight as they glided in spirals before beating their wings with deep, deliberate power. Both bore slate-gray feathers on their backs and sported rounded tails, though one was markedly larger. As they wheeled and banked, the speckled white and gray of their underbodies became visible, along with beautiful dark gray and white bands running the length of their underwings. They possessed long yellow legs, and their deep amber eyes flashed as they swept past again. Goshawks, a rare, thrilling glimpse. Not long ago, they were nearly vanished from these lands. Even now, they remained elusive, typically hugging the woodlands where they nested near tree bases, their striking eyes adapted for navigating the dense forest gloom. The pair swooped together, wings still moving with lazy power, and turned away into the rising sun's glare. The bright blue sky was veiled now in a high, thin haze. They were significantly elevated, yet the thin clouds remained far above. An odd but beautiful halo shimmered around the sun, betraying the presence of cirrostratus clouds, veils of tiny ice crystals floating thousands of feet overhead, refracting the sunlight into this ethereal corona. Looking eastward, the clouds were thicker, bruised looking over the sea, hinting perhaps at brewing storms. In this part of the world, westerly winds blew in across the Atlantic, gathering moisture before striking the Cumbrian peaks. As the air rose and cooled, it released its burden as rain, the very lifeblood that kept the Lake District so intensely green and lush. The hot air balloon had carried her towards a new cluster of peaks, but one summit nearby looked distinctly higher than its neighbors. Alara realized they were rising to meet it, Scafell Pike, the highest point in England. Pulling out her map, she noted its height, 978 meters. Though tranquil today under the spring sun, hundreds of millions of years ago, this mountain was part of a vast volcanic island arc. Around 20,000 years ago, glaciers shaped its formidable ridges and gouges, features clearly visible now as they passed close to the very tip of the peak. A dozen or so walkers, clad in sturdy boots, bright waterproof jackets, and helmets, moved with care towards the circular pile of stones marking the highest point. They looked impossibly tiny from her vantage. One of the walkers looked up, spotted the balloon drifting serenely by, and began to wave. Gradually, the walker's companions noticed, and one by one, they joined in the greeting. Grinning, Alara waved back until they had drifted completely around the peak and started a gentle descent on the other side. As Scafell Pike began to recede behind them, something else caught her eye, something entirely unexpected. Atop an outcrop below, she saw what looked like a huge square shape etched onto the ground, its corners softly rounded. Looking more closely, she spotted 3 more distinct shapes nearby. What could they be? As if sensing her curiosity, the balloon swooped a little lower. Now she could clearly discern low stone walls, the memories of buildings constructed here many centuries ago. She was looking at the footprint of Hardknot Roman Fort, which had stood sentinel on this isolated hilltop for nearly 2,000 years, guarding the valley pass. Back in the early 2nd century CE, soldiers under Emperor Hadrian had built this 3-acre fort, one of the most solitary and remote outposts in Roman Britain. Its construction was undertaken by the garrison, the 4th cohort of Dalmatians, an infantry regiment originally from the lands of modern-day Croatia and the Balkans. Those shapes on the ground were the ghostly outlines of the garrison's headquarters, the commander's house, and a granary. The 500 soldiers stationed here would have lived in leather tents, parading on the flat square of ground still visible on the hilltop. Countless miles from their homelands, people from across the known world would have tried to make this little corner of northern England feel like home. Drifting down the Eskdale Valley, Alara imagined how it must have felt for them to look up at the crags and summits surrounding Hardknot on a day like this. Just like her, they would surely have gazed at the stunning, rugged landscape in wonder. With a gentle aerial pivot, the balloon changed direction. Alara consulted her map. The red dot now seemed to be moving towards a peak marked as the Old Man of Coniston. A funny name for a hill, she mused. Looking ahead, she glanced back at the map. Finding an extra note had materialized beneath the name. It explained the name was likely a blend of old tongues, the ancient Celtic Alt Main, meaning high stone, and the Norse name for the nearby town, Konungston, or King's Farm. Though, the note added, some locals swore that from Coniston town, one of the hill's ridges looked precisely like the profile of a man lying down. As they passed the Old Man of Coniston, the remains of ancient slate quarries and copper mines became clearer below. The faint lines of iron tracks for carts, the skeletal remains of great cable cars once used for hauling tons of rock up and down the hillside, and the tumble-down shacks where workers would have once sheltered from the Cumbrian rain with flasks of hot tea. Today, however, an immense quiet lay over the workings. Soon, they were gliding over the other side of the hill. A long, slender expanse of water stretched ahead. Coniston Water, one of the largest lakes in the district. They were approaching its western shore. Half a mile away, on the eastern bank, she could see a large white house, 3-storied, sprawling over the hillside amid extensive gardens and woodland. Her map identified it, Brantwood, the home of the Victorian writer and thinker John Ruskin. In the latter half of the 19th century, he became one of Britain's most celebrated voices, writing on everything from mythology and archaeology to politics and literature. The map wasn't finished sharing its wisdom. Gradually, more words faded into view beside the outline of Brantwood. It was a piece of writing by Ruskin himself. When we build, let us think that we build forever. Let it not be for present delight, nor for present use alone. Let it be such work as our descendants will thank us for, and let us think, as we lay stone on stone, that a time will come when those stones will be held sacred, because our hands have touched them, and men will say, as they look upon the labor and wrought substance of them, see, this our fathers did for us. Looking around at the lake below, at the enduring hills and valleys and fields, Alara thought about how this landscape had persisted for millennia, changed only slowly by wind and time. She had seen what those Roman soldiers saw nearly 2,000 years ago. In centuries yet to come, others would see what she saw today. It felt easy sometimes to believe things changed too fast, that time whistled by like the wind. Yet, without knowing it, every day each person laid a stone, and another, and another, adding their contributions to those laid by loved ones, by strangers passed on the street. It formed a beautiful, intricate structure in her mind's eye. She shut her eyes again, feeling the warm morning sun on her eyelids. The air was utterly still. She took a long, slow, deep breath in, held it for a quiet second, then breathed out. Everything felt fundamentally okay. The balloon seemed to sense her readiness to return to solid ground. Smoothly and gradually, it carried her down, down, down towards the earth, the churchyard, the pubs, the grey slate houses of Coniston Village loomed larger, larger. They continued to drift lower, the feeling of weight returning. With a soft thud, they landed on the shingle beach at the water's edge. As the basket settled, Ilara hopped lightly over its lip and walked towards the line of trees just back from the shore. The balloon, it appeared, had other places to be. It had already begun to lift gradually from the ground again. As she turned to look back, the burner flared twice, a warm, silent goodbye. She watched as it rose into the sky, flew across the lake, passed over Brantwood, ascending up and away. With a last distant blast of its burners, it slowly disappeared from view. She hoped somehow she might see it again someday. The sun was fully up now, casting a comfortable warmth upon the beach. Her day had started exceptionally early. She decided to rest for a while in the dappled shade of the silver birch trees lining the shore. Finding a comfortable spot, she rested against a smooth trunk and closed her eyes. Distantly, she heard church bells chiming, their notes echoing down the hillsides and across the silent fields. The water lapped quietly at the shingle nearby. She could hear the gentle bleating of sheep, and their young lambs, too. She breathed deeply, evenly. She thought of the high, hazy clouds she'd seen earlier, passing far overhead. Much like those clouds, she allowed any stray thoughts that entered her mind to simply arrive, and then, just as gently, to drift away, and gradually, enveloped by the peaceful sounds and the lingering warmth of the sun, Ilara fell into a deep and satisfied sleep.